This mysterious and chilling tale is the true experience of a young woman named Miss Tan, whose life became entangled with a curse that crossed continents. From a small, seemingly harmless coincidence, grew a haunting battle between faith and the unseen. She never knew that one decision would open the door to a darkness that would follow her across the world. In 2016, Miss Tan made a decision that would unspool her life across borders. She left a South Korean airline to join a Middle Eastern carrier based in a small, sun-blasted country whose name she prefers to keep unsaid. The base became the fixed point she orbited, departing, returning, departing again, while the world slept beneath aluminum wings. She and two roommates hunted for somewhere to live and found a rooftop apartment. Peeling paint, furniture powdered with dust, a view that lifted the entire city into her hands. The instant she stepped inside, a fierce certainty flared within her. She wanted this place. She could not say why. The owner renovated everything to perfection. New paint, new fixtures, new light. Yet within the first week, while two of them ate quietly in the living room, a sound rose from the air like a ripple under glass. Thai words, strained and breathless, pleading for help. The voice came from the third roommate, who lay slack on the sofa, lips shaping the same plea as if something pressed against her chest. When shaken awake, she said it was only sleep paralysis. It happened often. The explanation soothed nothing. A fine thread of unease stitched itself into the room. Summer came harsh and grainy. With little air conditioning, they dragged mats to the living room for the night breeze. One midnight, Miss Tan lay on her side, facing the dining table, when she saw a pair of ankles, blackened, human, step from beneath the table and come toward her. The first instinct was not ghosts, but intruder. The balcony doors were open to the desert heat. She bolted upright. The room was empty. She told herself she had floated halfway to sleep and back, one foot snagged on a dream. She let the lie hold. By year's end, the roommates moved out to find their own spaces, and the rooftop became a quiet sky of her own. Work, however, turned brutal. She flew relentless, hopping time zones from the base to the Americas, to Europe, to Asia, and back again. No matter the continent, she woke at 3 a.m. local time. It persisted beyond jet lag. A clock inside her that belonged to someone else. Her mind soured. A relationship ended cleanly, without malice. Yet something in her burned and bucked at every small thing. Colors dulled. Kindness thinned. The world felt misaligned, as if a mirror had shifted by a single degree. On a layover in the United States, a church door stood open to the street. She went inside and sat beneath an ivory Christ and let silence pool around her. Calm settled like snow. The moment she stepped back through the threshold, the agitation returned, instant, precise, as though she had been dipped in cold sand. The neighborhood brimmed with fortune-telling signs. Without a plan, she drifted into a small parlor where a woman named Angelina read cards under a yellow lamp, The reading sketched Miss Tan's past with unnerving accuracy, the shape of her family, the contour of her choices, then rested on a peculiar detail: the nightly waking at 3. In every country. The reader named it without being told. The floor seemed to tilt. Angelina asked about keepsakes recently acquired. Miss Tan mentioned a diamond ring from her father, a bargain purchase. The reader called it a wedding ring from a marriage that had ended badly, an object that carried more than metal. Miss Tan, raw and seeking, believed the ring was surrendered for burial and cleansing. Then came the doctrine, a presence, Western in naming, a demon stalking in stages. First, awareness, glimpses of movement, the black ankles beneath tables. Second, contact, touches on skin. Third, manifestation, the moment when it steps fully into the room, and the person it hunts can no longer be rescued. The prescription arrived with price tags: white ritual candles to match her age, anointing oils, daily observances. She bought a few to begin. She was told, be careful, do not underestimate it. Back at base, the edges of the extraordinary nipped at her ordinary days. A shadow skimmed her hallway. A cold drape of air slid along her arm. She kept in touch with Angelina over messages and returned for more supplies: oils to mix in bathwater, instructions to burn and bless. The next morning, a red handprint appeared on the cream wall beside her bed. Too large for any adult she knew. Palm ridges and finger whorls stained as if pressed from beneath the paint. She wiped it away. By dawn, it was back, in the same place. Black dust collected on the living room floor in a shape that wasn't the desert's. Soot, soft, spread like spilt ash. She tried to rationalize it and could not. The warnings intensified. Return as soon as possible. Instead, she left for a long-awaited family trip to Thailand, a pilgrimage to old stone and older silence. From the moment she arrived, nothing pleased her. The air tasted wrong. The crowds grated. Even the pyramids felt like a slight. She shared a hotel room with Miss B, a religious family friend, hardened by modern years abroad. On the first night, B told a confession, how a servant had used sorcery to split her marriage once, and how faith had mended the wound. B's last words echoed Angelina's. Be careful. Do not grow careless. They slept aboard a Nile cruise the next night. Around 2300, Miss Tan heard the precise slap of water against a swimmer's arms. Someone pacing the boat in the Black River. B listened and heard nothing. At 5 degrees Celsius, no one swam. The boat glided through a dark that seemed to speak. Angelina could not be reached by phone. Over email, she wrote back a single line that cut. Of all countries, why Egypt? This land is heavy with the dead. Do not bring anything back. Do not take anything home. The museum came last. In the Hall of Gold, where the pharaoh's mask shone like a trapped sun, B whispered pity for a body unburied and forever displayed. Then, B gripped Miss Tan's wrist and pulled her into the corridor. She said the face beside her had changed, a skull's hollows replacing living eyes. Whether vision or warning, the fear felt real. The return journey jammed and stuttered. Traffic where none should be. Delays without cause. She nearly missed her flight. The instant her plane touched base, Angelina answered on the first ring to say the obvious. Something had tried to keep her in Egypt. If the body returned without its rightful occupant, the thing would have stepped in. That night, she slept in her rooftop room beneath a white sheet pulled to her chin. At 3 o'clock, an icy hand closed around her ankle and drew her foot from the blanket. She woke with a rasping cry. Stage 2 had come. The black dust now circled her bed, an ashen moat. The mattress remained clean, as if the dirt refused to cross. Her trust in Angelina, however, cracked when gifts were requested. Expensive, personal, gleaming. She turned instead to Miss B, who studied the photographs and said the ash looked like what remained after burning spirit money, a ritual not practiced in that country at all. The landlord knocked one afternoon, eyes wide, asking if she was hurt. He had heard a woman screaming inside. She had been eating quietly with the television low. The unseen had acquired volume. He consulted a religious healer and relayed a stark verdict. This was real. It was engineered, and if left to grow, it would end one way: death. Miss Tan traded leave days and flew home to Thailand. On Thai soil, the interference turned physical. Calls to be severed the instant she tried to speak the healer's name. Texts replaced voice. B wrote that a boy spirit had been sent to crush her stomach in the night with a message. Do not help this woman. Do not help her at all. They drove to the healer's province. He opened his door and said without ceremony that something had been flung at Miss Tan the entire way there. He called her fate stubborn, her spirit strong. Another would have buckled. 40%, he said, had already been eaten. He described the maker, a woman around 40. The ritualist, a Cambodian witch. He laid Miss Tan on a mat and asked her to lift her arms and legs. A lifelong practitioner of yoga and Pilates, she expected ease. Nothing rose. Her limbs were stone. A ritual blade traced her skin. Neck, arms, thighs, cold as a line of rain. Something inside her skittered, frantic and numerous, as though scattering for cover. The chanting climbed, then softened. Breath touched her crown. A weight slid away. When she tried again, her limbs obeyed. Lightness replaced the grit in her chest. The healer said to stop all contact with the woman in America. Such readers kept spirits like dogs. Of course she knew the past and present. Thieves learn a home by entering it. The first time Miss Tan walked into that parlor, she had opened her door. Spirits had reached in and stolen pieces of her. The instructions were simple and exact. Bathe in holy jasmine water for 3 days. Scatter protective powders along thresholds and window frames. Close your fortune so no one can look in again. Even after the clearing, the woman with the wavy short hair still visited Miss Tan's dreams, eyes sharp with grievance, hands catching at her wrists to tug her sideways. In those moments, Miss Tan remembered the healer's last counsel: return to your faith. You have been far from it too long. Where the sacred stands, nothing else can. So when the dark tide rose in sleep, she prayed. The figure drifted past as if her presence had become invisible, an outline seen, but unable to be touched. The ash diminished. The walls kept their color. The clock at 3 o'clock no longer owned her nights. Miss Tan does not speak the country's name. She does not wear the ring. Sometimes, under the bleaching noon on the rooftop, the city still looks like it belongs to her. But on certain winds, she can almost hear water slapping at a hull that is not there. And she understands. What hunts a person can travel continents, wearing whatever language the hunted will believe. If you enjoyed this true Thai horror story, subscribe to Tale After Dark for more chilling tales every week.